Well, hello and welcome back to Non-League on Sunday. We are back live for the first time in 3 weeks. We've got quite a bit to discuss. We've got the FA Cup first round results to discuss. So we've got some latest managerial appointments. Plus we've got National League South and National League North and the Southern Prem and the Northern Prem. So as usual, I've got, just Paul at the moment. Luke doesn't seem to be here. I don't know where he's gone to. But hopefully we'll get him back in a minute. He's disappeared. Hang on, I think he's here. He's here somewhere. There you go. We seem to have got him now. There you go. All three of us are back together. So we're all back. So as I said before, we've got I've got three news items to bring you to kick things off. Two of them are regarding managerial appointments. The first one is Paul Johnson has been announced as the new manager of Farnham, who have struggled a lot recently, has to be said, on the pitch. But off the pitch, there's a lot of work going on there. Paul Johnson joins the club after 8 years at Bedfont Sports. He even guided them to the playoffs in the Isthmian League South Central Division last season. And also another one which I didn't really know about until late yesterday. Hartley Whitney have appointed Ian Selly, the former Chertsey town manager, as their boss. And they got off to a winning start yesterday, 2-1 against Hanwell Town. Bit of a spoiler there for the results later on, but there you go. I think that's a great appointment. And lastly, I didn't quite find a photo for this, but Yate Town have signed Salisbury captain Darren Mullins as a player coach. So yeah, a couple of managerial appointments there, which are quite interesting. Seems to have lost Luke again. Connection troubles. There we go. Have you got any news, Paul, you want to mention, or is that about it? Is that
I think that Paul Johnson one's interesting. I think because he did a great job at Bedfont, but he was at Bedfont, like you said, 8 years. It's like, how long is he going to get at Farnham? Given what's gone on there recently, is questionable. I think.
Yeah, they've really struggled Farnham. They do want to go up the pyramid. I know that much. They do want to get up. I think they want to get promoted in at least next 2 seasons. But they've got to start winning. Lost to Shearwater last week.
Like you've seen, we've got 3 teams sort of doing YouTube's type related content now, haven't we? Obviously, it started with
hashtags one of them.
Dorking Uncovered and Charwood Uncovered. Now we've got Farnham doing it, and obviously you've got Wrexham doing it on Disney Plus or whatever they're doing it on. I think with Paul Johnson, I think we played against Bedfont last year, obviously Bracknell, because we're in the same division. The team last year was really, really strong. Most of at least I know 6 players that left up to step 3. I think the whole back 4, apart from the goalkeeper, I think the whole back 4 went to Hendon, which is quite surprising because how badly Hendon have been doing this season. That surprised me. But obviously Bracknell took Darryl Sanders and Jordan Esprit, who've been fantastic for us so far this season. So, yeah, they had a great team last year. So it's no surprise and really a real rebuild job. They're not doing so well this season. He's obviously decided that now's the time to move on, and he probably sees Farnham as, with probably their income being generated from the YouTube stuff, that he's going to be given funds, because I don't think, Bedfont weren't the best supported football club, and therefore funds would have been tight at Bedfont.
Yeah, and Farnham, let's not forget their attendances have been pretty good. When I went there a couple of weeks ago, it was 767. That was a club record. 767. That's more than most of the step 4 sides, and that's step 5.
Yeah, that's strong.
That is incredible.
You look at Beaconsfield yesterday. I think they had 83.
Yeah, about 80's average, isn't it? Yeah. That's the thing is step 4 clubs. A lot of them get less, about 100 or so. But obviously Farnham seem to be getting at least 200 or 300, I think, on average. Plus they've had those big numbers as well. So I'm interested to see how they go next few years. But they've got to start winning. I know that it's a big challenge there. I think it's not going to be this season they're going to get promoted, but it'll be more likely and more realistically next season. But we'll wait and see on that one anyway. But moving on now, actually, to the FA Cup, which is why we're here on this date. It's the first round proper this weekend. We had a couple of games on Friday, most of the games yesterday. We've got a few today, and we've got the big one tomorrow. But we'll go through my picks of the FA Cup results are featuring non-league sides. We don't want to bother with the EFL ones because that's boring. This is non-league on Sunday. The first one is Friday night's game. Hereford 1, Pompey 3. South Shields 0, Forest Green Rovers 2. Ebbsfleet 2, Halifax 1. Chesterfield 1, Northampton 0. Gateshead 2, Stevenage 3. Sutton United 0, Farnborough 2. Burton Albion 2, Needham Market 0. Chippenham 1, Lincoln City 0. Doncaster 0, Kings Lynn 1. Weymouth 1, Wimbledon 1. Cheltenham 0, Alfchurch 1. That was the biggest result of the day, probably. MK Dons 6, Taunton 0. And finally, I've got Buxton 2, Merthyr 0. So I'm going to quickly expand on a few of those results. The first one for me is the Portsmouth game. As a Pompey fan, it was a win-win situation for me because I am a lover of non-league and I'm a Pompey fan. So whoever won, I wasn't too bothered. But it was quite a good game. I think it was a shock that Hereford went 1-0 up. It was former Pompey striker Miles Story of the goal. Poor defending on our behalf, but I think it was Hackett got the equaliser at 1-1 before half time, and then second half goals from Pigott and Colby Bishop made it 3-1 Pompey. I think it was a rubbish performance first half, but we got there in the end. Come on, so Paul, what results? Obviously, I'm guessing there's a few that stand out for you. What was your pick of those results?
Obviously, Alfchurch going to Charlton. I think the away results are the ones that really sort of stood out for me. And the two were Alfchurch to Charlton, and then Farnborough to Sutton. They're the two that really stood out for me. Farnborough, obviously, because they're quite close to Bracknell, where we are. Ebbsfleet against Halifax. Ebbsfleet playing at home. They won 2-1, but they're flying up in National League South. It was those two away results that really stood out for me. Obviously, we'll come on to the Bracknell game. Just hopefully it'll give and inspire our players that non-league clubs can go to league clubs and turn them over. Them two being away from home, and obviously Bracknell are going to be at home tomorrow. It gives us a good chance, really. Give the lads, a good bit of confidence that they can get a result tomorrow.
Yeah.
Farnborough one. I was looking at the second goal that sealed it on video. I mean, the striker did brilliant. It was a breakaway goal. Tried to get taken out by the goalkeeper. Then he tried to get taken out by a defender, and they both missed him. And then he eventually managed to just stop the ball in the back of the net from about 4 or 5 yards out. So, yeah, really, really pleased for them. It was great.
South Shields, I know they lost 2-0 at home against Forest Green, but Forest Green did score a goal from the halfway line. I saw that. Quite incredible.
I saw that as well.
Yeah, what did you make of that game then, Luke? I'm guessing you might have watched that one.
Yeah. South Shields did try their best. I thought they were quite impressive in some parts, but I think the quality of Forest Green was probably the standout because they were just playing like very flat and all that. But they did have made some chances that could go like 1-0 or 2-1 up, really. But I think when Connor Wickham scored that goal, just like everything, it just killed the game off, really. And everyone was just so stunned on the ground. And if you didn't see, some fans were like clapping behind the stand. That goal was incredible, like giving like fair play to him and all that. But yeah, South Shields did have a great cup run, but it's just sad how they didn't really trouble Forest Green that much. But we just have to see how it goes for the rest of them because they've got nothing to play for, and now they could just focus on the league and all that.
But of course, as well, Luke, your team, Gateshead are knocked out by 10 men. Stevenage, what did you make of that one?
Yeah, I thought the first half started very well, but I think towards the end of the first half, near like the middle of the first half, we're just absolutely all over the place. Stevenage just dominated us very much. We were just playing very sloppy football, but the second half improved really massively. We managed to score 2 goals from 2-0 down to 2 goals up, but that was a really promising performance, really, because it looked like we were back to our old self, how we did that in the National League North, and it was really promising going further. But the third goal was an absolute defensive shocker by us. It was just miscommunication, and then I think slotted it away. Like proper nice finish though, but it just went in. But we still have the FA Trophy, so hopefully we can get a cup run going there, and we'll just have to see how it goes. Obviously, we need to focus on the league because we're not doing that well, and obviously we have a big game coming up against Yeovil on Saturday, and then we'll have another game against a Southend side who are flying high currently, and then we'll have Torquay, and then all the shots. So big one coming up for us. Good chance for us to get some points on the board and hopefully climb up the table.
Yeah, and a few other results I just want to quickly expand on as well is Chippenham 1, Lincoln City 0. I think that's a fantastic result for Chippenham. They are, what was that, 3 divisions apart. Lincoln City are a good team in League One. They used to be quite a good team in League One, Lincoln City, so that's a good result. Donny obviously losing 1-0 at home to Kings Lynn. That's a great result for the team that got relegated from the National League last season. Weymouth earning a replay at AFC Wimbledon. We keep mentioning that man, Bobby Wilkinson. He's struggled in the league, but he's doing well in the FA Cup from it seems. They're doing a fantastic job there. And of course, Cheltenham 0, Alvechurch 1. That's a fantastic result for Alvechurch. The lowest ranked side in the competition still. MK Dons thrashing Taunton 6-0. I mean, who likes MK Dons? Let's face it. I feel sorry for them. But yeah, there's still a few more games to be played, obviously. So we've got Torquay versus Derby. I'll be watching that one. Curzon Ashton versus Cambridge. And of course, the big one, Bracknell versus Ipswich on Monday. Paul, do you want to expand a bit more on the Bracknell game? It's a massive occasion for the club. The second time in history Bracknell have reached round 1. A sellout crowd, hopefully a big atmosphere. Bit of tough game, but it's winnable, isn't it, really? Let's face it. Anything can happen in the FA Cup.
Yeah, I think it'll all depend on what sort of team Ipswich put out, I think. We had a good pre-season against some sort of strong academy, sort of under 23 and B teams. You know, we beat Wickham under 23s. We beat Reading under 23s. We beat a Crawley B team that was littered with first team players, you know, and we turned them over 5-1. So it'll really depend on, you know, Bracknell getting their match prep correct. The sort of team that Ipswich are going to put out, whether or not, you know, they'll find the stadium intimidating, because obviously they'll be used to playing in a massive stadium. You know, they're not used to playing in something as small, quite enclosed as the ground that we've got down there at Sandhurst. I think they've sold about 2,000 tickets, which I think is about right, because I think what you don't want is you don't want to sell more tickets and, you know, not be able to cope with it in terms of a crowd and stuff like that. So I think they've got that about right. So it'll really just depend on how, you know, I believe, you know, how the Ipswich lads sort of come down, you know, whether or not they turn up on the day, you know, and whether or not, you know, how the Bracknell lads play. I mean, you know, looking at some of the results yesterday, you know, you've seen non-league teams, you know, Farnborough, you know, they're only step 2, they go away to Sutton and win 2-0. Alvechurch obviously winning, you know, against as a Charlton. So, you know, they've got to believe that they can go out there and get a result. I think they'll give a really good account of themselves. You know, I suspect they'll start maybe a little bit nervous, but I think once they sort of, you know, 5 or 10 minutes, they'll settle in. The one
Bracknell got to watch out for is like I said before we went live, is Marcus Harness, ex-Portsmouth winger, super quick. He'll be deadly if he starts for Ipswich. But
what wing does he play on? Do you know?
I think he was right. I don't know what. I think now he might play a bit more in midfield now. I think he's more attacking midfield now these days. I'm not too sure, but he was right winger at Pompey. But he's one to watch out for. I think Connor Chaplin. He's an ex-Portsmouth player as well. He's only little, but he's a very good player. And yeah, he's got some big names in there. So it'd be quite. I mean, if it was a draw, it would go to Portman Road, wouldn't it? I mean, how big would that be for Bracknell as well? Getting an away night at Portman Road. You know, that'd be incredible, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I was at the Ascot game yesterday. I don't know when the replays are. We were having a bit of a debate. I thought the replays would be I thought replays were within 3 days or something like that, but I think somebody
Might be
said
a
that
week, yeah.
it's just over a week away or something like that, a replay. So it's like we wouldn't be replaying until maybe a week on a Tuesday, a week on a Wednesday, or something like that, maybe the 15th to the 16th, which I thought was quite surprising. But yeah, I mean, that would be mad, wouldn't it? Yeah,
And lastly, sorry, an exciting element of tomorrow night's game for Bracknell is the fact that the FA Cup draw for the second round has been made before the game kicks off. So if you find out you got, Portsmouth in the next round, that's a dream tie for me. My God, I mean, it'd be a lot to take in, wouldn't it? Knowing that while the game's going on, if you're winning, you could play another big League One side.
Well, you'd think that they'd be shielded away from that. The draw's at 7:00. They're going to be out on the pitch, getting ready, getting warmed up and stuff like that. So
yeah, but from a fan perspective as well, like even if if Bracknell will say winning, dare we say, and it was drawn, Ipswich or Bracknell versus Chippenham, that's winnable, isn't it? So then you could make the third round and play championship side.
Potentially a Premier League team. Obviously, Alvechurch, right? They're step 7 or whatever it is. But I think I was watching the Kings of Anglia podcast because they were talking about the game, and I think one of the lads on there was talking about for us to be able to turn them over, to have that sort of perfect storm whereby maybe Ipswich aren't in a good spot at this point, but in actual fact, they're in a really good spot. I've been really impressed with their manager in terms of the way he comes across. So, yeah, I think it'd be really, really difficult for Bracknell. But I just hope that, they do themselves proud, they do the club proud, and, they'll go away with no regrets, as everybody sort of says.
Yeah. And what we'll do now is we're going to quickly move on to steps 1 to 3. So we're going to kick things off, of course, with the National League. There's quite a few games yesterday, so a lot of the National League sides now kicked out of the FA Cup. But we got Altrincham 0, Wealdstone 1, Barnet 0, Southend United 3, Chesterfield. No, hang on, that's Tuesday. Sorry, I got the wrong day. Was there any games on yesterday? I've just realised there was no games on yesterday. Well, there you go. I've missed that one. I didn't realise there was no National League games on yesterday, was there? Just to clarify.
No, there wasn't.
No, there wasn't. Okay, then so we'll forget that blunder. Was it any national? There was National North and South, wasn't there? Okay. Well, at least we can do National League South then. Let's do National League South. I've messed that up big time, so apologies for that. So National League South. Dartford 4, Braintree Town 1, Dulwich Hamlet 3, Hampton and Richmond 2, Eastbourne Borough 3, Cheshunt 0, Havant and Waterlooville 2, Hemel Hempstead 0, Hungerford 0, Worthing 0, Slough 1, St Albans City 3, Tonbridge Angels 1, Bath City 2. So going through a few of those results. So Simon Grant's got out on loan to Hungerford. He kept the clean sheet there. So I'm sure he'd be delighted with that. And it's a good point as well, I think, for Hungerford, because Worthing are decent side. And Hungerford are trying to stay up in this division for yet another season, it seems. But it's good as well to see Dulwich Hamlet back to winning ways. They've struggled as well in the league, it seems. But they're back at it. So what has that done for the National League South League table? Well, top of the table is Dartford, who are a point ahead of Ebbsfleet United. But bear in mind that Ebbsfleet have got 3 games in hand now. So Ebbsfleet could easily take top spot once again at some point in the season. But Havant, Chelmsford, Braintree, Bath and St Albans City make up the playoff spots. And right at the bottom, we've got Concord Rangers, Hungerford, who needed that point yesterday massively, Cheshunt and Weymouth. But Weymouth, obviously, after this FA Cup run, have got to really start getting their some form going. Any results there that surprising you too, or ones you just happy to see?
I think the 3 that interested me
not really.
was Hungerford Worthing, because, like you said, we found out at the Winchester City game, Bracknell playing Winchester City on Tuesday night, that our goalkeeper Simon Grant had gone to Hungerford on indefinite loan, or whatever the term was.
Dual registration, I think, is the terminology. Yeah.
Slough and Albans, I mean, they're in an absolute dire run of form. Slough, I think that's 1 point out of their last 6 games. And then the other one that we've been keeping an eye on is Tonbridge Angels against Bath City, purely because we've drawn Tonbridge Angels in the next round of the trophy. So
they were 1-0 up as well at half time. Tonbridge. So
Yeah, I think we
they
have
slipped.
Tunbridge in the looking at the league table. Tunbridge 10th. The thing is with Tunbridge as well was our joint managers, Jimmy McClure and Carl Withers. They'd already dunked Tunbridge out of one of the competitions.
With Binfield, yeah,
With Binfield,
4-0.
absolutely. So
yeah, that's an interesting one.
you look at the form guide. No, I've said it before, but I mean, look at the form guide of that table. It's absolutely mental. There are over half the table have only got 7 points or less out of the last 6 games.
Yes, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah,
Quite how difficult it is, doesn't it, as a league?
Yeah, it is a tough league, that one. But yeah, I'll tell you what I'm going to do quickly, actually. As a little bonus, I'm going to quickly go through, because it was Tuesday, wasn't it, the National League results. I'll quickly point out some ones that stand out to me. Also, Luke, your team, Gateshead, lost 2-1 at Chesterfield.
It was
disappointed by that?
It was probably expected because Chesterfield are probably a good side, and but I think the real part of that game, right, is when we didn't have a shot on goal that much. So in that second half, which is kind of concerning towards the fans, right? And the fans are probably getting a bit frustrated about that. But we did pull the chances on Chesterfield. Obviously, we did score one. We did take the lead early on, and then Chesterfield, we were switched off, and Chesterfield scored another goal. And then towards the start of the second half, we just switched off then. But it probably was expected, but I think it's kind of promising that we're giving chances to these big sides and all that. So, but it's just a bit disappointing. We didn't really had control of that lead, really, and all our players just switched off after that. But lots of Chesterfield fans were praising our keeper because our keeper made some extraordinary saves, really. And it should have been like 4-1 up. Without our keeper being that good, we'll probably score like 4-1 of some kind. So just shows how dangerous Chesterfield are on like the counter attacks, and they just really just pick out teams out really well because they're always in that one half, right? And they're always just like picking out those firing away chances, and somehow they end up in the back of the net, like 2 of them already just did. But hopefully we like I said, that was Tuesday, so we're not really too bothered about that result anymore. It's just about getting back to good promising performance against Stevenage. Could hopefully be the start of something where we actually pick up form and all that. So we'll just have to see how it goes, really.
Yeah, one result that sticks out to me from Tuesday night's National League results is Torquay United 6, Aldershot Town 1. I've got all my cousins live in Torquay, so I do have a bit of a soft spot for them. And that win, they needed massively. I mean, they're at the foot of the table still with 13 points, Torquay. And they used to be in League One many years ago, in League Two, obviously more recently. But they need to try and start. I mean, it's quite tight at the bottom of the table, I'm noticing. So you've got Torquay and Gateshead on 13 points, Maidenhead on 14, Yeovil on 14. You've got Scunthorpe 15 and Oldham 16. So of the 4 relegation spots, there's 6 teams that, are really in that mix at the moment. Plus you've got Halifax, Altrincham and Maidenhead. So it's going to be a longer season for a lot of those sides. Some other results, Woking beat Yeovil Town 1-0. Yeovil, where are they in the table? Yeovil, where are they in the table? I can't find them. Near the bottom. Yeovil, another team, used to be in the Championship, didn't they? And they're struggling in National League.
It's mad, isn't it? Halifax, Oldham, Scunthorpe, Yeovil, Torquay. I mean,
all down the bottom, yeah.
All down the bottom, well-established league clubs a while ago, and look at them now.
I mean, and the problem is when a lot of these ex-CFL clubs or whatever fall into this division, it's probably by far the hardest league to get out of because it's a league winners get automatic promotion, and there's 6 teams in the playoffs. I mean, it's brutal, isn't it? Really. What results were there?
Both sides. Obviously, really established EFL sides last season, but they were just like in Sims. Both Oldham and Scunthorpe having bad owners, and Scunthorpe still have bad owners. Well, they want them to sell the club and all that, and I think it was the downfall really. But I think when Oldham, the second half of the season, I think it was towards February, they did pick up a bit of form, but it was just towards the end, the fans just got it just went downhill from there. And were sick of it and just made all their pitch evasions and all that. And they were just like getting really sick to it. But obviously, during the summer, they had new owners like Frank Rotwell took over. So really, it's not really. It's just a bit sad to see Oldham considering have new owners and a new manager. It's just have to see how they do. But Scunthorpe did, even though they did win against us, they did look a bit promising there because they were giving it the best shot and all that, and the ref was giving away harsh penalties, which is, in my opinion, I think it wasn't a penalty. I think it was like a free kick or something. But it's really sad to see for Oldham, especially because they were in the Premier League one time. So we'll have to see how they do. But I'm not too sure about Scunthorpe's situation. They might pick up a bit of form, but it's not really looking promising. But we'll have to see how it goes, really. With Scunthorpe, especially with Scunthorpe.
What I find weird is as well, a lot of these teams that come out in the National League who have never been like in the EFL before, they end up doing really well and getting promoted to League One. I mean, look at Forest Green Rovers. Basically, my point is a lot of teams when they get promoted from the National League end up in League One. That's what I find quite surprising. Like I said, Forest Green Rovers, they went quite quickly straight to League One, and some other teams have done that as well and established themselves in League One. It's just weird the way it works sometimes. But Luke, I don't know if you want to go through now and give us, your results and league tables from the National League North and the Northern Premier League.
All right.
I've got the tables though. Whenever you need them for the National North and the Northern Prem.
All right. You finally did it.
Yeah.
All right. I'll just read the results out from the games on Saturday. So we had Blythe Spartans 3, Telford United 0, Brackley Town 3, Kettering Town 0, Chester 1, Bradford Park Avenue 0. Then we've got Farsley Celtic 3, Banbury United 1. Then we've got Kidderminster Harriers 1, Darlington 2, Leamington 1, Scarborough 1. Port Peterborough Sports 1, Boston United 1, Southport 2, Chorley 1, Spennymoor Town 3, Gloucestershire City 0. Obviously, there's some sides in the I think one or two sides were in the first round, so like Kingston and all that. So and Hereford. So do you want me to share my screen and all that? So go through the tables and all that.
You can do. I've got the table on here if you want. There you go.
Oh, sure. I'll let you go through the tables. So currently at the top of the league and obviously keep retaining from last season, like they did, causing a little trouble up the top of the table. Then we've got Darlington making up the playoffs. So Darlington, Kingston, Scarborough, Chester, Gloucestershire City, Southport. And then towards the bottom half of the table, we have Kettering Town, Bradford Park Avenue, Blythe Spartans, and Telford with only 7 points and 1 win and over 11 losses. But then that's it for the Northern. I mean, not Northern Premier League, the National League North. But I'll move on to the Northern Premier League. So I'll go. There was some games in the Northern Premier League. Obviously, some sides were in the FA Cup first round, so just South Shields and all that. I think that was the only side in the Northern Premier League that were actually in the FA Cup first round. So, yeah. So we have Ashington 0, Nantwich Town 1, Bamber Bridge 1, Radcliffe 3, Belper Town 1, Gainsbury Trinity 4, Guiseley 1, Warrington Town 3, Lancaster City 1, Stafford Rangers 2, Liversedge 1, Hyde United 3. Then we'll have Mosque United 2, Orpington Collieries 3, Morpeth Town 0, Marine 2. Then we'll have Stonebridge Celtic 1, FC United of Manchester 2. Then we'll have Warrington Rylands 2, and Whitby 0. So, have you got the tables up or not?
There you
go. So see what happens to do for the Northern Premier League. So Hyde United currently sit top of the Northern Premier League with 30 points. And obviously quite close between them and FC United and Manchester. So they're making up the playoffs for FC United and Manchester, Gainsbury Trinity, Warrington Town, Marine, who are doing excellent really. considering they lost all their players. They've got towards the bottom half, we have Liversedge, Lancaster City, Nantwich Town, and Belper, who currently Belper obviously have 11 losses and obviously finding it very tough in a new division. Obviously, I want to mention that South Shields have I think they have 2 games or 3 games in hand, so they have an opportunity to climb up the table. Obviously, they had the FA Cup and the FA Trophy overshadowing it a bit. So yeah, and obviously we've got Guiseley as well, who are not doing that particularly well. They're obviously stuck with 6 wins and currently 6 losses and 4 draws. So they have to really pick up a form if they want to get bounced back, really. So yeah, that's the Northern Premier League. So if I'll do the other Northern Premier League, a bit of the AFTS sides, how they're doing. I'll just run over quickly. So we'll have Cleveland Town 1, Shieldon 2. All right. Concert 2, Grantham Town 2. Then we'll have Dunstan 1, Bridlington Town 1. And then we've got Lincoln United 3, Heaven Town 1. And we'll have Long Eaton United, Grimsby Borough 4. Then we'll have North Shields 1, Ossett United 1. Heard there was a last minute win in that game, and then we'll have Pontefract Collieries 2, Sheffield 2. Then we'll have Stockbridge Port Steels 1, Tanncaster Albion 0. Then we've got Stockton 4, Carlton Town 3. What a game that is. Then we'll have Worksop 4, Brighouse 0. Should I just screen share this just to get the tables up for the
go ahead. Yeah, that's fine. Just quickly, I want to shout out Lewis B, who says up the Seagulls. That's obviously, I'm guessing that's Western Supermare. More on those guys in a minute when we get to the Southern League Premier.
Just need to get this up. Okay. Can you see this?
Yep, there you go.
So currently in first place we have Stockton Town, who are currently flying ahead, currently with 11 wins and only 2 draw losses. Then we'll have making up the playoffs, my local side, Heaven Town, who are in second. Then we'll have Worksop, Cleethorpes, and Pontefract Collieries. Obviously improved from last season, Pontefract Collieries towards the bottom half of the table. Then we're towards the bottom of the table. Let's just go straight down to the bottom. And we have Grimsby Borough, who are making the relegation playoffs. And then we'll have Carlton Town. Then we'll have Shieldon, and then Tanncaster, who make the relegation zone with only 9 wins and no wins whatsoever. So it's kind of concern for them. So we'll just move on to the West Division. Obviously, have the results up here. So we'll have City of Liverpool 1, Newcastle Town 2, Clitheroe 1-0, Runcorn Linnets 1, Colin 1, Brutal 1. Closter North End 0, Workington 3. Then we'll have Hanley 1, Trafford 2, Kidsgrove 2, Prescott Cables 0, Macclesfield 1, Scamersdale 0, Mossley 3, 1874 Northwich 0, Winners 3, Ramsbottom United 1. Then we'll have Witton Albion 1, Leek Town 2. So what this does to the table. So we have Macclesfield, who are currently sat with 10 wins and on 30 points, not far behind Leek Town, who are catching up behind, which make the playoffs, such as Mossley, Workington, Runcorn Linnets. They will have towards the bottom, near the little relegation cut-off point, we'll have City of Liverpool, Colin, then we'll have Widnes, then we'll have Ramsbottom United, currently making up the relegation zone in the West Division. Then we'll quickly move on to the Midlands Division, a couple of games in there. So we have Bedworth United 2, St Neots 1, Bournemouth St Michael's 2, Hickley 0, Chasetown 1, Shepherd Dynamo 0, Corby 2, Sporting Calza 3, I think that's how you say it, Downfree Town 0, Coldfield 1, Heels Owen Town 4, Durham Town 0, Harborough Town 0, Spalding 2, Loughborough Dynamo 0, Greasley Rovers 0, Stamford 3, Cambridge City 1, Yaxley 0, call short for what it just does to the Midlands defeat. But as you see, it's quite tight at the top with Stanford and Hillsborough leading the line so far. Obviously, Stanford already lost once in the league, while Hillsborough haven't drew whatsoever, and obviously lost 2. Then we have Bournemouth, St Michael's, Spalding United, Sporting Calzar, and that's towards the bottom. So if we go towards the bottom, we have Danbury Town, who are currently sat in 17th, St Neots in 18th, and Hickley, who are currently in 19th. Well, the Yaxley are not doing well. They currently have no wins and 13 losses and 1 draw. So it's not really a good season for them. But that concludes the Northern Premier League, and for another 3 weeks until we see the tables change once we get back on here. So yeah,
definitely, that's great once again to have all that the Northern section of non-league. But lastly, but certainly not least, we're going to go to the Southern League Premier Division South. There's quite a few entertaining games on yesterday. So Beaconsfield Town 3, Gosport Borough 2, Chesham 1, Swindon Supermarine 1. Dorchester 1, Metropolitan Police 0. As you would know from my vlog, which comes out later today, Hartley Whitney 2, Hamel Town 1. That was a fantastic game. Game of 2 halves. I think Hamel with a better side in the first half, and then Hartley with a better team in the second half. But two great goals there for Hartley Whitney. But unfortunately, the Hamel goalkeeper took a bad injury. So I think it's his foot or leg. So we wish him all the best there. Paul Town 3, Hendon.
Just going to close the door, just real quick.
That's fine. Paul Town 4, Hendon 3, so a 7-goal thriller there. Truro City 6, Northley 0. It's not a good season for Northley, is it? They remain still rock bottom of the table. That's their second 6-0 defeat in a 3-week period. Weston-super-Mare 3, Salisbury 1. So Weston-super-Mare needing that win massively at home yesterday. Winchester City 1, Tiverton 2. Winchester were actually leading around the 80th minute, 1 goal, 1-0. But Tiverton scored 2 goals on the 87th minute and the 90th minute, respectively. So Tiverton with 2 late smash and grab winning goals there. And finally, Yate Town 3, Harrowborough 3. So any pick of results there for you, Paul, that might have surprised you, but certainly the 7-goal thriller for Hendon and the 6-0 defeat for Northley. It's big scorelines there.
Yeah, there is, but I mean, Truro City hardly conceded the goal, so to be honest, it's not surprising. We beat Northley 6-0 as well, I think, in the league. We only just scraped past them last Sunday 3-2, but yeah, I think that to me it was the surprising result. I fully expected Truro to win that. Good to see Western, well, not for Bracknell point of view, obviously, but Western sort of still keeping on a trails of Truro and not letting Truro get away with it. They certainly look the 2 standout teams in the division. I think we've got to play 42 games this season. In that, they've played 14, so they're third way through the season. So if they keep that form up, hitting 105 and 108 points respectively, so you'll think one of those will probably go on and win the league. At this point, been keeping a close eye on Gosport Borough, purely because Gosport, we've got them on Saturday in the league. And we haven't played them yet. Their form guide is just horrendous at the moment. You'd think we'd go over and get a result on them. I mean, they've got 1 point out of their last 6 games, although I do think they've played a number of games away from home. Their form guide at home is slightly better. And it's very similar. Their form guide, I was looking at it in the week, so their form guide at home to Bracknell's form guide away from home, they're very, very similar. So, I think really we'll probably get, we'll probably be good for a draw down there. I'm not sure whether or not we'll get a win, purely because at the minute Bracknell just can't keep clean sheet. Tiverton against Winchester. Obviously, Matt, we were there Tuesday night. Winchester gave a good account of themselves. Tiverton with 2 late goals. They scored a late one for us. It just shows that that
must be frustrating being 1-0 up in the 80th minute and then to lose 2 goals like that. I mean, that must be so frustrating. Yeah. And they're doing so well in the seat. I mean, they're doing so well in the league. Considering their budget and stuff, and it's gutting to lose like that. I think, and really, they need that win.
It just shows you just can't shut off at all in this league. I think that's what we've noticed, since coming up, is that you know, A, you've got to be on it the whole time, and B, just generally, I mean, like, you know, last year in the league, you know, when we weren't quite on it, or you know, we did give, you know, teams a chance to score. You know, they weren't as clinical as teams in this league. You know, you give somebody, any team, you know, a chance of a sniff at goal, you know, and, you know, quite often, you know, more often than not, they'll bury it. So you just, you know, you just cannot afford to do that. And that's what you see Truro and Western are doing really well. You know, they've got plus 28 goal difference each. You know, they're not letting many in, but they are taking their chances when they come along. Well, what's happened to the Hartley goalkeeper then? Because
the Hartley goalkeeper. Hamill had a corner. It was basically a quick counter attack from Hartley, and then the Hartley player sort of he skillfully took it round both the goalkeeper and the defender, but the defender and the goalkeeper clashed into each other, and I think it was more the defender clashed into the goalie's feet, and he took a bad knock and he went off in a stretcher. He's in hospital. I believe he might be having an operation. I don't know yet. So in terms of the vlog that will be up today, that bit will be cut out because Hamilton have asked me if I could cut the collision out and just show the goal itself. But it was a bad injury, so I think he'll be out for quite a while. Yeah. But hopefully he makes a recovery soon. But anyway, what's that done for the league table? Well, of course, Western Supermen needed that win purely because they still remain second, a point behind Cherry City, who are doing very well this season, undefeated in the league season. But it's Chesham, Poole, and Dorchester who make up the playoff positions. Met Police only a point behind the playoff spots. Could you imagine the Police in step 2? What could will happen next season? And Swindon Supermarine and Hanwell not far behind. But I think if Hanwell won that game yesterday, they would have been in the playoff spot still. So they were devastated by that result.
They've dropped a bit of form now, Hanwell, haven't they? They started the season.
They have a little bit. But next Saturday they host Winchester. Next Saturday they host Winchester, so that'll be a big game for them. But Winchester
still away.
That's at Hanwell.
Right.
But Winchester still remain 14th, luckily, despite those 2 lost few-minute goals. Right at the bottom, you got Hartley, Hendon, Yate, and Northfleet. Now, I need confirmation. I don't know if you know, Paul, but I'm a bit confused because this league table suggests the bottom 2 get automatically relegated, but FOTMob says otherwise. It says that 19th is a relegation playoff spot. So I don't actually know for certain if Hartley are technically in the relegation spot or not there.
I'm the same as you. I looked at that the other day and I thought, well, it can't be 4 that go down. No, we'll have to do some research and
because FOTMob has 19th position as a relegation playoff spot, which I think is more realistic. But Northfleet, right at the bottom there, really struggling, conceding a lot of goals, along with Yate, Hendon, and Hartley Whitney. But that win for Hartley, they needed that. Definitely, but they could still go down. But I think with Ian Selly at the helm, maybe they will turn things around and not just win yesterday, but maybe in future games to come.
I think they'll do a good job there. I think if you look at the teams that are up there as well, Truro, Western, Chesham, Met Police not far away. They were all the sort of teams knocking on the door last season as well, weren't they? So, I think it's starting to sort of settle down in that league. Obviously, we've got the likes of Merthyr and us that have still got a lot of games to play yet, but teams have got the points in the bag. So we've really got to make sure that we pick up points. But we'll have a lot of midweek games, and I think the midweek games are normally the ones that throw up quite surprising results. And
Lewis B as well says that Chesham were very good at their place 2 weeks ago. They'll be in the playoffs at least. And he also says, what's that say then? Does he say, sorry? Well, I've got my glasses on. 2 down, then third bottom is... Oh, I see. 2 to go down, and third from bottom is points per game over divisions. Okay.
Not sure for our league, for the Northern Premier League. I think it's... I'm just going to double check. I think it's... Oh, yeah, it's... Apparently, the football web page has 4 to go down.
Yeah, that's what we had up, yeah.
And for the 8th tier, they have 2 to go down. I think it has this weird thing, right? I think it's going to be 2 in the relegation playoffs because last season there was only 1 in the relegation playoffs doing there. So just have to see what the crack is with that.
Yeah, and also we got Captain Birds that says morning, great as always. So thank you for watching. But Yep, bit of a loss. Got a few last-minute comments here, actually. And Lewis B says he's looking forward to the Bracknell-Ipswich game. And lastly, we got DJ Tom says hello. He was at the Burton and Needham game. So Needham Market, sadly, out of the FA Cup and will not make the second round this season. But that wraps up this non-league on Sunday.
I wouldn't mind what DJ Tom, if he can just quickly say as well, how he thought Needham got on against Burton, purely because I know Ipswich played Needham Market in a pre-season friendly and I think they thrashed them 7-0, so it'll be quite an interesting one in terms of how Needham fared at that level, because I think they're the same level as Bracknell.
Yeah, I know they are the same level. Let's see if he can type it quick enough before we go offline. But
I just got one question to ask, right? This is just because the next time we'll be live. So the World Cup's on. So do you think, due to the World Cup, non-league attendances will increase during the World Cup? Or not?
Good question. I'd imagine. Well, I'd hope so. I want non-league to do better, so I'd hope
Obviously,
so. But
I think League 2 into League 1 are going to be on. So, but there's just going to be limited players in League 1. I heard.
Well, yeah.
So,
If you got Premier League teams not playing, then it might mean that some fans start going to watch their local side, which would be good, obviously. But also DJ Thomas has messaged us say yes, they matched them toe to toe. So yeah, good performance there. But yeah, I think that concludes non-league on Sunday for another, well, live anyway, for another 2 or 3 weeks. We'll let you know very soon. It is sort of every fortnight, but the FA Cup draw second round is Monday at 7 on BBC 2. So that's just before the Bracknell versus Ipswich game. But as always, thank you to Paul and Luke for joining me. We look forward to this game, like I said, in roughly a fortnight's time, but we'll see anyway. But yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you very, very soon.
Cheers, thanks.